Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Sunday evening, which of course means it is match day review showtime and something of a rarity on this channel this season, a Saturday defeat for the Gills to talk about. And it's been a tough week on the whole. After seeing off Barrow by 2-0 a week ago, it's been back-to-back defeats without scoring for Mark Bonner's men. And it'll now be a week leading up to Accrington where he starts to earn his money as manager. Of course, I'm joined by co-host Reese from German Gills. You're all following him, so you know the drill. And making a swift return is Tyler Birtles, Crewe Alexandra fan, who is obviously smiling a lot more than myself and Reese this morning. Welcome back, Tyler. A very deserved 3 points.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw it coming, to be honest. But yeah, I've got me got me delighted, really. I don't know what more I could say, to be honest.
No, absolutely. Like I say, we spoke on the preview, and you was worried about the lack of forward options and thought that we'd definitely score a goal through Elliot Nevitt. He had a couple of half chances, which we'll get to, but I think if we'd been out there all weekend, I don't think we'd have found the back of the net. But we'll get back to 2 o'clock first, and we'll do some team news. And Crewe lined up in a 3-5-2 variation, which was Marshall in goal, Connolly, Knight Labau, and Dimitri in a back three. And then it was Cooney, Breckin, Tabner, Conway, Williams as a 5 in the middle of the park. And then it was in a makeshift front line, which ended up working out quite nicely, Shiloh Tracy and Jack Lancaster. For the Gills, familiar 4-2-3-1 formation. Couple of changes from in the week. Glenn Morris in goal. Romeo Hutton returned at right back to playing defence alongside Aymer, Ogie and Clark. Robbie McKenzie and Armani Little tried and trusted in the middle. And then it was a trio of Nolan, Lapsley and Clark supporting former Alex star Elliot Nevitt. Reese, the paragraph I've written sums us up, done it yesterday, spilling over into the review show. We'll try that again. The paragraph I've written down: Crewe comfortably the better side and likely didn't have to get above third gear to win. Not a time to panic, but that type of display simply cannot become a regular occurrence.
I think you're bang on with that. And also, if you perform like that, that's not a promotion-winning team, is it? That's ultimately what it is. So I think you're absolutely bang on with that. And I think, yeah, Crewe, like us in previous victories, didn't have to get out of third gear. Crewe the same, didn't have to go into the higher echelons of the gear cogs, and they were a comfortable victors. And yeah, we were humbly beaten. I don't know, just awful.
It weren't good at all. Tyler, anything to add to that paragraph from your point of view as an Alex fan?
I think you're bang on, to be honest. Obviously, none of us really saw it coming, and the way that we lined up, it was a bit questionable because obviously Conway's primarily started at left wing back, so he obviously got moved to the midfield with the lack of options there, and then we made a makeshift front two, which seemed to work out for us. But I think it was just we were the better team on the day. You did have some bright spells, but I think ultimately we just kind of executed our game plan perfectly, especially with the personnel that we had available.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I'm not sure they were spells. I think they might have been fleeting moments, to be honest. I think you're trying to big us up a little bit, which I appreciate. Weirdly, Reese, I thought the first 10 minutes we were actually the better side. We kept the ball, which was fine. You want to do that as an away team. We was quietening the crowd down.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first half chance was for us. We won a corner. Jack Nolan was probably the only good delivery from a set play on the entire 90 minutes for us. Just that type of delivery that you want to see from Jack on a regular basis. In-swinging, left-footed, at pace, across the 6-yard box. Needs a touch from anyone. Defender, striker, midfielder, referee. It doesn't happen and it goes out for a goal kick. But at that point, I was thinking, okay, this is a promising, encouraging start. We then had a header from Nevitt that drifted wide harmlessly. Is it fair to say that was where we peaked?
Yeah, that's probably about right, actually. And you say that delivery from that corner. I mean, it's never actually, it runs to the back post, and you just think, oh, it's just half a second too late, which always frustrates me on corners because that's when you're meant to be your most alert because that's the ball's a set play. It's not moving when it's kicked. So, but yeah, it was a sign of, it looked like a sign of potential for things to come. But the fact that we're calling that the peak of our performance of that game is compelling and is really, yeah, that's as good as it got, really, I think.
Yeah, so 8 minutes. Right, so to end this episode, no, I'm joking. Tyler, and then you took the lead. And from our point of view, at least, the goal was synonymous with the entire performance. It's just poor all over the pitch from us. I think Armani Little tries to have too many touches on the halfway line, gives it away. We then have a chance to make a foul. We don't do that, which allows you to break in numbers. We then get too narrow defensively. Shadogi then dangles a leg like a child that you tell defenders not to do as kids. And Lancaster squares it to Shiloh Tracy, who's unattended, and taps it in to make it 1-0. I mean, you must have been ecstatic at that point because, like I say, I thought we'd settled the game down, and then any sort of modicum of hard work that we'd done to do that just unravelled in an instant. But you still do your part really well, so I'm not going to sit here and not give you credit.
No, of course. Well, I think when you look at that lineup, I think we were going to try and catch on the break, which obviously we did do. Charlotte Tracy, I said in the preview, yes, he didn't really have any goal contributions, but he can make them darting runs, and he's got the ability to get in the right position. And then Lancaster has been brilliant with his technical play. So yeah, you were poor for the goal, but obviously Lancaster had quite a bit to do to get past. I think it was 2 in the box to square. But yeah, I think it was. You made us look a bit better on it than it was, but then again, I'm not taking anything from Lancaster to make that brilliant dribble into the box.
No, not at all.
No, it was brilliant, but I'm glad for Tracy to get a goal, but I think anyone could have finished that.
Yeah, I mean, if he misses, then you've got to be asking questions. But Reece, from our point of view, like I'm saying, I'm giving credit to Crewe because Lancaster still has to, I'm going to say, jink past his challenge in inverted commas.
Yeah.
But it's woeful from us. Like, we know some people don't like it, but tactical foul. As soon as we lose that ball on the halfway line and they break, and you can see they've either got a one-on-one situation in areas of the pitch or they've got an overload, just bring him down and take the card, surely.
No, I agree with that. But in the first instance, actually, we gave the ball away really cheaply for that attack to build as well. With I can't remember it exactly, but I think it was a combination of Little and someone else. It was just really poor passing between players. Gave a loose ball, and all of a sudden there's a counter on. And as soon as that happens, you're on the back foot. You're trying to get in position. You're slightly out of shape, and therefore, actually, is the most sensible thing to take a tactical foul, take one for the team. Probably the best shout for that is you should do that, but you don't do that, and I'm all for honest play, but sometimes if you have to have a little bit of gamesmanship occasionally to go in your favour. I don't mind that. Yeah, right, absolutely. And didn't happen. And yeah, I mean, Lancaster and Tracy, I mean, it's easy, right? He had to do it, executed excellently well. But yeah, I think with a decent enough Crewe side versus a really poor defensive outlet of that particular phase of play, yeah, it was always going to end at the back of the net for Crewe.
Yeah, absolutely. The good thing about Gillingham this season has generally been the fact that we react well to setbacks. I mean, we've not reacted well to going behind in games because all our defeats have now come conceding the first goal. But Mark Bonner's big on character when you've got tough moments. We simply didn't learn yesterday. That was the biggest thing, because a couple of minutes later it could have been 2-0. Mickey Dimitri, I thought, was outstanding at left-sided centre-back. At his age, he's still probably one of the best centre-backs at the level. Drives into midfield, plays in a really punchy ball. I think it was Tracy again. But luckily for us, it's Glenn Morris, who was one of the players on the pitch in a Gillingham shirt that was actually alert and come out and smothers, because otherwise Tracy probably just slots it under him or goes round him. And then at 2-0 with 20 minutes gone, it's probably game over. Tyler, you must have been, like I say, buzzing at this point. You've seen an early storm, not a storm, you've weathered early pressure to a degree, and then you've taken control of it very quickly. And everything you was doing was just the very opposite of us.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, you go into the game and you see how you've started. So we know it was going to be tough. And then with the options that we had available, that was another bit of a talking point. First goal was excellently built and executed. Obviously, you were poor a little bit defensively, but it was a brilliant move. So then after that, you could just see that we fell right into the game, and the confidence was there. I think. I don't know if it could have been a goal, because I think the pass was a bit overhit. So your keeper was definitely going to get there. Obviously, like you say, he was on point all game. I think he was probably your man of the match, to be honest. But yeah, I think the way that we set up kind of did harm you a lot. So obviously with the two wing backs, then you've got a midfield three putting loads of pressure on, and then you've got Shiloh running in behind, and then you've got Lancaster that's got the technical flair to obviously break you down. I think it was just a perfect execution and a game plan, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to sit here and just make this about how poor Gills were, Reece, because Crewe were very good on the afternoon. And so you have to say there's a degree of them making us look poor. But at the same time, a lot of what we did was self-inflicted. Our best chance probably of the game came shortly after that opportunity, though, for Tracy. Jaden Clark, I thought, was one of our better players, probably one of only a few that came out with reputation intact, if not enhanced. done well down the left-hand side, beat his man. I think it was Ryan Cooney, cut back to Jack Nolan, and for all the world, you think if Jack Nolan makes a solid contact, it's going to be one each, but I'm not sure who it was, but it's heroic defending to get the block in and prevent a leveller. But yeah, again, moments rather than spells, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was moments rather than spells. I think it was the Crewe number 3 who got the block in, actually. Knight LaBelle, I think it is that his name. I think managed to get the block
Yeah,
in.
it might have been, yeah.
But like the thing is, you're absolutely right. It's just little moments, and you kind of go, well, okay, but there was no continuity of play. There was no building on these moments, because sometimes if you're down low in a game, you need a moment to then build upon. And we get one occasionally, but we don't do anything with it afterwards. Don't ravel ourselves back into the game as a result. And Crewe throughout the game were very good at managing that, and were the better team. But yeah, we weren't building on moments, and I think that was really one of our Achilles heels yesterday. We were away from home. We're always potentially going to be slightly under the cosh because of that. But you meant to be using these little moments of play, bit of, I say, possession. We probably talk about it. We had the most of possession throughout yesterday, and nothing to show for it whatsoever. But we just weren't building on that. It was very sidewards and backwards, and that was it, really.
Yeah, and it comes back to the old discussion about what's the right way to play, doesn't it? Because you can keep the ball for hours and hours, but if you're doing that along your back line and in the halfway line, then it means absolutely nothing. And I thought Crewe were really good in letting us have the ball in our half of the pitch, but then as soon as we crossed the halfway line, they engaged, and a mixture of them being solid defensively and us just being way off the pace creatively meant that they turned possession over really relatively easy, I thought. There was another half chance, I think, Tyler, for Breckin, dragged a shot wide from 20 yards. But as the game sort of approached half time, you must have been, well, you've already said you were, but just how surprised were you at how sort of lacklustre and poor Gillingham were? Because I've just put slow, ponderous, backwards and sideways passing.
Well, obviously, with us, we tend to make little changes depending on who we're playing. Because obviously you've got to kind of match the way that they line up. And with us, with the limited personnel, we had a look at the lineup and we had six defenders in the 11. So straight away you're thinking, please don't just go defensively. And like, even though we have, because when you look at the injuries that we've got, when you see that team sheet, not knowing like the exact shape that we're going at, you're thinking, oh, we're just going to line up defensively and hope that we can just nick something. But then after the first half, when we were knocking on the door and we went in 1-0 up, you're thinking, okay, this is working. I think defensively we were brilliant. I think we dealt with everything that you threw at us. I'm not saying that it was down to that we were absolutely amazing and that you weren't, because there were a few chances. Obviously, that Nevitt 1-on-1 as well in the second half. I think there were a few chances that I was worried. I think the early cross that Nevitt nearly got his foot on, I was a bit, okay, this is a bit dangerous. And then when he had his 1-on-1 in the second half as well, that Marshall saved, there were a few chances where I think on a different day you might have put it away. Like Nevitt, I think with us, I think he would have just finished that with his 1-on-1. But going into the break, I'm thinking, okay, we're sound defensively. We've made a break and we've scored when you're in a pretty poor shape on the counter. And then Breckin stepped up. That was his first senior start. Dragged a shot wide, but I thought he looked pretty good. And yeah, I think every player was just doing their job really.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of Crewe. Where everybody was probably like a 7 out of 10 and above. Whereas unfortunately, from Gills' point of view, there was probably 2 or 3 that were around that area, but we had 7 or 8 that were probably 4s and 5s, unfortunately. Yep. I remember saying to Nick at half time, Reece, on the Match Day Live, that we were just loose in everything that we did. With the ball, we couldn't pass it to a teammate. Without the ball, we were just having a poor touch, or the shape was all over, or the defensive line wasn't quite there. I said at half time, if we can tighten them up, there will still be opportunities in the game for us. Because as poor as we were still in the football match at just 1-0. We had to make a change at the break. Robbie McKenzie, I think, had struggled throughout the half after that early whack on the foot. Ethan Coleman come on. Didn't change a lot, did it? I think the first half chance, second period, is for Crewe Alexandra. It's a free header for Connolly, but luckily his header gets no purchase on it and it just sort of bounces through to Glenn Morris. But it was another example of us of not heeding warning after warning.
No, absolutely, and I'm sure Bonner really had a discussion at half time about how we need to change our approach. I'd actually thought like throughout the whole game, but just those short passes between us, it felt like we were trying to pass a rugby ball on the ground. That's kind of how it felt to me. We didn't have the control, we didn't have the first touch. Everything was slightly over hit, under hit, and it was we gave we so many unforced errors that allowed Crewe to get in. But yeah, like you think the substitutions that were made didn't really have much. Well, I think one had an impact a bit later on, but that's it. But for the other, like Coleman coming on, not really. And then Crewe continued as they were really in the second half, and we just didn't really change our approach from the first half, which was concerning considering we have those 15 minutes at half time to try and reset ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Tyler, you've made a point about how good you were on the counter-attack. I think second half, it looked like you was happy to play as the counter-attacking side, almost like the away team, because you were happy to let us have ball, like I've said, up until final third. You must be aware that we're not using it well enough to create any sort of sustained pressure.
Yeah.
And obviously, the second goal comes from exactly that, another turnover. I think the ball gets cleared. Armani Little doesn't jump and compete enough with a header. I think it's your substitute, is it Thibault, who'd come on?
Yeah, Timo, yeah.
Does really well. And then you've got, I think it's either 3-on-3 or 2-on-3. Shiloh Tracy's movement's great. Sort of looks to go like he's going to go narrow and then peels out wide. And then from there, as poor as we were again, it's a brilliant touch. And it's an arrowing finish across Glen Morris in off the far post. I caught it on camera. It's a really, really good goal.
Yeah, I've seen the footage that you did. That's what he can do. Obviously, in the preview, I was giving a bit of criticism that he didn't have any goal involvement. But he is bright and he does get in the right areas. But then he's a frustrating player because he gets in these areas and you go, just shoot. Like sometimes I think he's a bit too nice rather than lethal. He'll try and pick out an extra pass or he'll try and square it. He'll try and take like a nicer option rather than just having a go. And then today, I think he didn't really have much of a choice because Timo was running in, but he was getting man marked. So it was like, just have a go, and he hit it. And before the game, my stepdad said to me, "Oh, he's going to score for you today." I was like, "Okay, well, we'll see," because of what I've said. But it was a brilliant finish. It was tucked perfectly in the corner. No one would have got to it. And like you say, it was another counter attack. Lee Bell said in his post match interview that he made sure to give you plenty of the ball in your own half, but then to kind of sit and wait. But that's what you're going to do when you've got 6 defenders on the pitch. You're going to give you a bit more time, and then when it starts getting into our area, you're going to pressure and break them down. But I think with the way that we set up with the width, because of the 5 at the back, it makes it so easy to counter because you've got Williams and Conway that can link up on the left, and then you've got Cooney as well. That I think sometime in the second half he pinged a beautiful ball to Tracy to just get him behind, but then obviously nothing came of it.
And also, the probably the confidence comes to shoot for the second one because he scored first half. I think, based on what you told us, if he's not scored in the first half, he probably sort of slows himself down and then tries to square it or wait for someone. If he'd done that, he could have probably been better suited wearing a yellow shirt on the afternoon, couldn't he?
No, our fan base have said, there's loads of people I speak to, and they all say that he's a confidence player because every week he does show glimpses of what he can do. But then it's just, I think now he's opened his account, I think he'll start getting a few more. But I think it was just getting that because he's been unlucky in some games. But it was just, yeah, I'm glad that he's got 2 because the first one, I don't want to take any credit for him because it was a good move, but obviously it's a tap in. Whereas that, it shows what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a striker's goal. That and someone who's playing with confidence. And of course, Reece, the added beauty for us was that Shiloh Tracy and the man who set up the first goal used to both play for Mark Bonner at Cambridge United.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That is correct, isn't it, Tyler? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He did.
How the world works in mysterious ways.
Wow. Okay, certainly does. But I just want to add to that very quickly. The goal at Tracy scored. It's one of those ones where it looks like he's running into no man's land. I actually thought that he's going to be ushered out to the side and. He took his last opportunity to have a decent shot and he took it well and he put it as far over left as he could. Otherwise, I think if it goes any more left, it's a post and comes out into the area. But it took it so well, hit it with pace, and Morris got no chance to get down to the out. It was a lovely finish and a real striker's goal and one you want to see go in if you're behind the Crewe goal. You want to see those ones go in, and it must have been a nice one to experience.
Yeah, decent limbs in that end as well. Fair play to him. It was bouncing in there for a period after time. I was sitting in our bit thinking, "Cool, That looks fun in there, and I'm sat over here watching this nonsense. Anyway, we still didn't learn. There was another chance, wasn't there, for Holacek? Good link-up play again. I think it might have been Tracy who'd peeled out wide. Ball comes in. Holacek does everything right. He's hit the target first time. Glenn Morris does what Glenn Morris does and keeps himself big and stops it from being 3-0. We then made a change, Reece, a triple change. Jack Nolan, Armani Little, and I think, just to touch on it, if Armani Little's having a bad day, you know you're going to struggle to get something out of the game. That was comfortably his worst performance in a Gills shirt, unfortunately, but he wasn't the only one, like we've already said. So it was Nolan, Little and Lapsley came off. Lapsley surprising for me. I thought he was one of our better players. Hawkins, Wakelin and Dieng come on. So it looked like we went to a 4-4-2. So I think it was Glenn Morris and the same back four. And then it looked like Wakelin and Clark from the sides with Dieng partnering Coleman, which wasn't ideal because I'm not sure either player's fully fit. And then it was two big men up front, Hawkins and Nevitt. There was another half chance for Crewe. Nothing changed again. I think there was a foul from, might have been Ethan Coleman, who got handsy and got turned too easily. Was it Tabina's free kick, I think, Tyler? Decent hit, left-footed. I wasn't sure from our angle whether it had just sort of bounced and skipped out wide for a goal kick, but obviously the referee gave a corner and none of our players complained, so Glenn Morris must have got a decent hand on it. It's at this point, though, that you're starting from our point of view, Reece, to think we've got to start throwing the kitchen sink. I'm not even sure we got the tap turned on, did we?
No, I don't think you have the bathroom. It was no, I
don't know why your kitchen sink's in your bathroom, but we'll carry on anyway.
yeah, that's how bad it was, Matt. I have to say, it was all in the wrong place.
I'll just put a raspberry again.
Yeah. But no, it was yeah, I've even forgotten the question. No, we just I've just the substitution. I do think though this. I don't know. This might be contentious. I actually thought the substitutions that were made were quite lazy substitutions in the sense that it's kind of obvious to go, oh, we're 2 down. We've only got however long, 15, 20 minutes left. Let's just take who I think Lapsley, one of our best players at the time, off, and then just chuck 3 big guys up front, lump it forward, see what happens. But then when we have that potential instruction, we didn't really do it much either, which was like, oh, okay, we're not really utilising what we're meant to be having. Everyone's sort of like honey potting around the ball when you love it up top, so no one's splitting off and running around. So it just became a bit of a melee and didn't work. And I just thought it was maybe one of the weaker substitution approaches Bonner's made since he's been at the club.
Yeah, I didn't think it changed the pattern of the game. Like you say, we had Hawkins, Nevitt and Dieng trying to occupy the same space. And for a centre-half, particularly of Dimitriou's quality, he's just going to sit there and go, cheers. It's going to get played up in the air. I can see everything in front of me. I'm just going to compete. If I don't win the header, I'll put enough pressure on so nothing happens. And if not, I'm just going to head it clear. And that's essentially what happened. Elliot Nevitt, we have to talk about, obviously former Crewe player, did have a couple of half chances second half. The first one, I think he sort of made a yard for himself, edge of the box, swiveled and dragged it slightly wide, which was, it was probably the one thing that we did with any sort of modicum of conviction in the entire game. We then created our own problems again. There's another chance for Thibaut, Tyler. I think the ball gets played in, he flicks it towards goal, and again, Glenn Morris keeps himself upright and it hits him in the chest or the chin, I think. If it weren't for Glenn, it could have been probably 3 or 4-0.
Yeah, look, I think the substitutions that we made were definitely the right ones. I can't fault Lee Bell for some of the changes he made. Obviously, Lancaster went off at half time. He was on a yellow, but I think it was more kind of fitness. So we bring on Thibaut. He has a few chances. He's only 20, so he hasn't really got the experience in proper first team football. We plucked him from non-league, but to step up the way he did and get an assist and have a few chances, yeah, it was. I thought he was going to grab one, but no, like you say, I think Morris was brilliant on the day. I think he kept the score down really.
Absolutely, astonishingly, he only had 2 completed passes in that entire half. Thibaut, looking at a stats app that I use, and 1 created the second goal. So again, it comes back to it. Don't matter how much possession you have; it's what you do with it. And Thibaut did everything properly. One from 15 touches, he's created a goal, nearly scored himself. It's a really good impact sort of substitution that you want your substitutions to do. And again, the theme here, Reece, seems to be everything that we did badly, Crewe did completely opposite. Our substitutions had no positive impact apart from the last one, but albeit the game was too late then. Whereas substitutions from Lee Bell, you've got Thibaut coming on having an impact, Holacek coming on having an impact. I know the last 3 are just late to run down the clock, but the 2 that are made early enough, have a real positive sort of impact on the game, don't they?
They do, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It was yesterday was well described as it's quality over quantity, isn't it? And I think we had quantity of possession, but didn't really do any quality with it. And then vice versa for Crewe, didn't have much possession, but when they got it, they made it valuable, and that was ultimately the difference between the two sides on the day. And yeah, it's great if you can have possession, but if you do nout with it, then what's the point of having it? Like you say, Crewe happy to sit back and let us pass the ball around, and then when they get it, we're going to make use of this, and that's all they did yesterday, and they did it really well.
That's it. Yeah, they were clever they let us have it in safe areas, and as soon as we got anywhere near their final third, they engaged, relied on us being sloppy with it as well. But credit again to the home side, they pressed really well, and which was why it made the Lapsley change surprising for me, because I thought Lapsley was the only one that was actually pressing fairly well for us. But as I say 1,000 times, that's why we sit here and talk about it, and that's why Mark Bonner and Lee Bell and the such are paid to make these decisions on a regular basis. We made one final change, which was brave and attacking in the sense that we moved Jaden Clark to right back and withdrew Ramo Hutton, probably a little bit of protection because he'd missed a game in the week with a hamstring problem. So yeah, Clark went to right back. Bode came on. Probably our man of the match aside from Glenn Morris.
I think you're absolutely right. When he came on, I can see why everyone on social media is saying he needs to start if he can apply that all down that left-hand side that he offered, because he offered in 10 minutes what the whole team offered collectively, I think, together in the whole game. No, he had that desire to go and make something happen. And if you have 10 other players playing with that mentality, even if you come out of a loss, you can go, we gave it our all and we did all we could. We can't say that at all yesterday. And I think that's why a lot of people become frustrated. But Bode, that can't be said for him, because I think he came on 10 minutes and gave it all, and, you know, was causing some problems in the latter stages of that match.
12 minutes played, 1 shot off target, 2 out of 2 dribble attempts, 14 touches, 86% pass completion, 1 key pass, and he won 2 out of 3 drills. Like,
what, did he play 90 minutes? That's what I mean. That's what it could sound like.
I know it's a low bar, but that sums us up. Yeah. We did have a half chance, didn't we? I think a free kick or a corner got lobbed into the Crewe box. It sort of got headed down rather than out. And Jaden Clark can't do much more. And Jaden was another of them players that probably came out reputation intact. I thought he was bright enough on the left-hand side. If Jack Nolan scores first half, he's got an assist, and we might be talking about a completely different afternoon. But if your auntie should be your uncle. So, yeah, he does all he can, I think, from our point of view, sort of volleys it, but into the ground, it just bounces over the bar. I think by then, though, Tyler, you're probably sitting there thinking, right, that chance has gone. We're pretty much home and hosed.
Yeah, I think it's just game management. Obviously, we lined up with quite a few defensive players. We made some late changes where we went even more defensive. Obviously, Owen Lunt came on as a straight midfield swap. Agris was a bit of attacking flair, but he's another young lad. And then we brought on Billington for Charlotte Tracy. So there's another player that can play centre back or right back that you've got on. So it was just kind of game management. Obviously, you threw some long balls in, but I think the defensive line just dealt with it as they should. Like you say, Demetriou was brilliant. That's what he is. He's just a class act.
Yeah, I mean, he got 8 out of 10 on the app that I use, which was only bettered by Shiloh Tracy, of course, who got 2 goals. Yeah. So we'll just have a quick look at Demetriou. Yeah, 90-minute played, four block shots, 11 clearances, an interception, a tackle, 60% pass completion, which is, you know, it's not too bad at all for a centre half. 100% of his ground duels he won 8 out of 14. I'm not doing that as a percentage because I'm rubbish at maths, but yeah, he was just a proper dominant centre half display, wasn't it?
Just want to say that's why he's in my EFL fantasy team, because because he ranks in those points. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of clean sheets at the moment as well. Fair play to him. Final chance for the Gills came for Elliot Nevitt, and I think this period of play just summed us up on the afternoon, didn't it, Reece? Yeah. 1-on-1. I think Tyler's already alluded to the fact that Elliot Nevitt in a red shirt at Bresty Road last season just has one touch and probably caresses that into the bottom corner, but he had about 7,000 touches, it felt like, and by that time the chance is gone. He can't get it out of his feet. Marshall comes out, smothers it. I think Joe Bode then curls an effort over the bar from the rebound. Yeah, that was probably the highlight because the final whistle went a couple of minutes afterwards.
It did, but it did sum up. It summed it up really. It summed it up perfectly. You take took way too many touches. Maybe it's the confidence of the game is not gone his way, so he tries to make something perfect so it does go his way, and by that you know the architecture of your own mistake there, you track it too wide and it doesn't come to anything. And you know it's actually I was quite happy Bodie went for the shot in the end, because I tell you, only went a yard over the bar, but like it was
unlucky.
Yeah,
again, it was someone trying to do something decisively and with a bit of belief, wasn't it? Which we didn't do all afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it did that particular passage of play when that is over, you kind of go, yeah, that's our day right there.
Yeah, and Elliot had obviously been getting a chorus of Elliot, what's the score for fast periods of the second half, which is great. That's that's football banter. If it doesn't cross a line, then absolutely no problem with that. The same as Ryan Cooney, second half, signalling 2-0 to the Gills fans and having a bit of a laugh. It is what it is, isn't it? We've already alluded on it, Reese, so I don't want to touch on it too much. I've just put that type of performance simply cannot be repeated if we want to stay in the top three. Passive, slack, couldn't pass 5 yards, couldn't pass 10 yards. The point I made earlier about how many times did we see a Gills player put their hand up and go, I'm sorry, because we said on the coach on the way back, you can have 1 or 2 or 3 maybe players that are sort of 5 out of 10 that are not quite at it if your other 8 are at it. We had it the other way round. We probably had Glenn Morris, Jaden Clark.
Probably Lapsley, maybe.
Lapsley I'd put into that bracket as well from the starting 11, and then Joe Bode off the bench. Aside from that, everybody was way below par.
I also think what's really, maybe it's weird to say this, but in sort of medium long term, it's an important game in the sense that Bonner should use this as a marker of this is how bad we have played, and no one should. We can't go down there again. And if you go down there again, then we have to question what we're doing. Yeah, this, it's always good to look at your range of performances, and I hope that that's our lowest, and it should be. If it's not, there are other problems, but that should be a benchmarker of how the worst we can perform with this team. We should never go down there again. I'm not taking any credit away from Crewe, because
not at all.
They were solid on outfit. They did their job. The game management was really good. I thought Tracy was excellent. I thought Dimitri was excellent yesterday as well. And I thought they did a job. Played out of possession for a lot of that game, and were able to punish us with valued passage of play moving forward, and I was impressed with them. And that's a good team to get behind, and if they keep doing that all season, it's going to be relatively successful for Crewe. But we can't allow that to happen at all, and we need to pin this game and go, right, that's what a bad performance looks like, and we can't go down there again.
Absolutely. And if you look at the table now, if Crewe win their game in hand and Fleetwood as well win theirs, that could be that'd be 6 teams on 19 points, which just sums up League 2 this season. Absolutely staggering, yeah. So you're almost out the playoffs on the same points as the team that's top. I think, like we said Tuesday, the only silver lining to the cloud is the fact that we're still joint top or second on goal difference now, or whatever they put it on, because we both got +7, us and Walsall. Got Barrow breathing down our neck with +6 goal difference. Donny +3. It's going to be a crazy league all season, isn't it? It's going to chop and change. But yeah, we certainly have to be better if we want to stay in them positions. Tyler, you must be so encouraged from that performance from a Crewe thing, like not to go over it all again, but like you say, you've got 3 centre backs, you've got 2 wing backs, you've got full back playing in centre midfield. You've got no Kane Emmons, you've got no Omar Bogle, and then you've got people step up like Lancaster first half and Thibault second half and Tracy with his goals. You get Hemmings and or Bogle back, it makes you a better team again, doesn't it? So we mentioned that start on the preview show. 3 games goalless, then 4 wins on the bounce, setback against Newport, reacted brilliantly yesterday. I asked you about playoffs and you said nobody's really sure because of the player churn and that type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask that question again now. After that performance, albeit we were off the pace, but that's not your fault. That must give you real encouragement for the rest of the season. You're 8th with a game in hand, like I say, you're 3 points off the summit.
Of course. Well, we said that the resilience and the belief in the squad's there, and we needed Lancaster and Tracy to step up considerably yesterday because of the lack of attacking options, and they did so. They did it brilliantly, and I think Lee Bell's team selection was bang on, and his game management was brilliant. I can't fault anything that we really did. When you look at the game in hand and you look at how tight this league is, then I can't I still can't give you a definitive answer because there's that many teams right now that are on similar points that have all got good squads. And I said in the preview show, anyone can beat anyone. If we win our game in hand, then I could probably give you more of an answer, but I don't know. I think I said I'd want us to hit the playoffs, and I still think that we can. And I think yesterday we proved that even if you were off par, I think we still showed that we've got the quality there. And I did listen to Lee Bell's post-match interview, and he said that we've got players coming back this month. So we have got Bogle and we have got Long coming back. So if we can get them fit and firing and actually keep them fit as well, alongside what we've got available, then there's no reason why we can't keep knocking on the doors of all these teams above us.
So would that mean a change of shape, just out of curiosity? Because obviously you played a 3-5-2 yesterday. Yeah. Is that what you've played all season, or was that just necessity because of the personnel?
So we tend to opt for a front three. So you'll have like Lancaster on the left and Tracy on the right. But
so Tracy would go wider, right?
Yeah, Lancaster's a bit more of a freedom role. But then yesterday we reverted to five in the middle so that we could have just a two-strike pairing. So if Bogle or Long come back, then I can see us going back to a front three. But I'm quite happy with how it went yesterday. So
sometimes you just stumble across something that works, don't you? So it could be something that you end up persisting with, and it changes your whole season around. Reece, just to sum up again, we've said it all. Wasn't good enough first whistle to last. We're not sure the substitutions were entirely correct, but we are still on 19 points after 10 games. If we repeat that another 3 times to get us through to 40, we're going to have 70-something points, 38, 76 points. It's not time to panic, but it's a time to be aware that this league can quickly bite you on the arse if you're not at it.
You have to be very careful. It's funny actually, because I always look at these things. If the results happened in a different order, but you got to the same result at the end, you have a different feeling, don't you? So if we lost the first 2 games, for instance, and then we went on this amazing run, you have a different feeling at the end of it. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Ultimately, we're on 19 points at the moment. After, is it 10 games now? It is 10 games. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 10 games, 19 points. Like if someone said at the start of the season, I'd go, yes, please, thank you.
Absolutely,
I don't care how we get there, and that's promising, you know. And it's progress from last season. And that, if you look at statistically, that's what, you know, I just feel like it's a good place to be, and that's what you need to look at. It's where you're at currently, and yes, we can look at last bit of form. That's important, but we've got 90 points. We're second. That's okay. That's fine.
That's it. And it's 87.4 points over the season if we carry on. We're not saying it's sustainable, but you know now with that solid start that even if that drops off by 3 points in every set of 10 games, you're going to be there or thereabouts for playoffs at worst. And Crewe's is exactly the same as well. It's, you know, 1 game less, 3 points less, 81.7 points based on P per G over the rest of the season. So both teams are still doing more right than they're doing wrong, is what I think I want to say here. And I get what frustrated me yesterday evening was people were right to call out that performance because it wasn't good enough. And then some are getting called bedwetters or negative. Well, we're not. We can cut. If people are allowed to come and tweet and post on Facebook forums about a good performance, we're allowed to post and tweet about poor performances as well. And to be fair to a man that used to be our manager, if that was a Stephen Clements Gillingham side, he'd be getting absolutely pelted last season. So we have to question Mark Bonner and the players today because, again, that performance was not good enough.
And I also, I've not listened to the whole thing. We've heard a snippet of Bonner's response. You can tell he's unhappy with it, and he's very blunt and on the nose with with what he thinks of it.
First word is fuming, isn't it? First word out of his mouth is fuming.
Yeah, and I don't think maybe Clements would have said something like that last season. I think Bonner is much more. It seems much more real, and it's good. I think what I like about Bonner, he's both got a logical head and an emotional head, and I think he uses them both correctly. And I think you can feel that he's emotional about this, but once that's out of the way, I think he has usually a logical approach to dealing with situations of form that we're currently in, and I have confidence in that, which is nice.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I'll get that entirely. I just meant from a fan's point of view. If we're going to question that as if it was Neil Harris or Stephen Clements, we have to question it when it's Mark Bonner as well. We can't.
Oh, you can't escape it. Absolutely.
No, we can't. I can't sit here and go, "Oh, that was poor because it was Stephen Clements last season," and then sit here and go, "Oh, it's all right because it's Mark Bonner." That was rubbish yesterday.
No, absolutely, and I think that's a very important distinction to make. You have to give the same approach to anyone who's in charge, because that's the fair approach, right? Because it's how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
doesn't matter. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Tyler, thanks again for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on the win. You're absolutely superb on the afternoon. Like I say, did everything correct that we couldn't do correctly and deserved the points massively. So, yeah, really solid start for you boys, and good luck for the rest of the season, aside from the return fixture at Priestfield, whenever that may be. Reese, as always, thank you very much. Gills fans, you're all following and subscribing to Reese's channel, aren't you? Because it is brilliant. Don't forget that Gillingham fan Justin Foote is now in the middle of his Prostate UK charity walk. One man dies every 45 minutes from prostate cancer in the UK. So that means potentially somebody lost a family member or a friend in the first half and the second half at Gresty Road yesterday. So please click on the link in the description at the bottom of this video and dig deep and give whatever you can, because it would be greatly appreciated by Justin. Yeah, not been a good few days for the Gills. We'll be back later in the week with an Accrington fan to preview next week's game at the Priestfield as we look to get back on track. But until then, I hope you have a good week. And most importantly, up the Gills.